Who's wrong and who's wronger? In this corner, followed by millions, James the Exploding Unicorn Breakwell. And in that corner, ignored by millions, Steve Shrinko Leavers.
Hello there, friends. This is Steve O'Leavis, and I got the O right in my name. I wanted to take the time and talk to you about wrong and wronger with that fabulous chap Steve O'Leavis, like a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and James McBreakwell, the guy who you find when you pick up the pot and look underneath. He's got no Irish in him, but you've got to love the show, everybody, because James... the show keeps going on. The show must go on. You and I are here. We're getting into St. Paddy's Day season, and how awesome is that?
It is very awesome, because I do, in fact, have some Irish in me, mainly the drinking parts. Also, you know, the Catholic thing going back. Yeah, I got more Irish than you. But yeah, I'm very excited. This is the one of the few worthwhile holidays in the year. My kids also are famed leprechaun hunters. They are all over it. So I'm very excited about the season. Not excited about you. Definitely not excited about the costume. But you know what? We got to take the good with the bad. That's what Wrong and Wronger is all about.
Well, you have stumbled upon the podcast where James and I argue about topics that mean almost nothing to nobody. And when I say almost, because there is that little sliver that makes people passionate about the topics. And James, we got one that we know hits across the board. People big, small, different ethnicities, different creeds. I don't even know what a creed is, but I did like the movie. What are we going to talk about today?
In what is possibly our worst topic ever, we are going to talk about ties versus bow ties. Which are better?
What do you mean the worst topic ever? We've done like almost 100 of these episodes. There had to be a stinker in there somewhere.
And just for the record, what we're doing tonight is better than the alternatives, and we'll just leave it at that. We are dredging the bottom of the barrel here, folks.
We could list what the alternatives were that we were texting about earlier when one, possibly both of us were a little bit inebriated. But in the meantime, neckties, corbatas versus bow ties.
Yes.
I don't know the Spanish word for bow tie, actually. That's interesting. Anyway... we always begin these episodes, well, first of all, with me doing a spot-on impersonation of whatever the hat inspires. But second, we give each other compliments because we want to uplift all of the listeners and show what fantastic sportsmen we are. Win or lose. By the way, James lost last week. Anyway.
The polls aren't closed. The polls aren't closed. How could I have lost?
Well,
Facebook
first of all,
is still going. I still have hope. I do not concede. I do not.
Let's talk about why Facebook is still going, as long as we're going to dust off this path.
Well, clearly, it was Russian manipulation in forcing me to hit the wrong button. I mean, that's the only explanation. Also,
you're usually more creative than that, but okay.
There's some funny math going on with Facebook. So on Twitter, we've got two fake options to bleed off all the non-watchers. But Facebook, anybody who clicks that button gets counted. There's no way to not count them. And I feel like that's why you're doing so strong there, because there's no way to, to sift the wheat from the chaff there. You get the benefit of randomness. But on Twitter, where we sift and collate and we carefully weigh the answers, I'm always better on Twitter, and that's just the truth. I'm sorry the numbers don't agree with you, but that's how it breaks down.
Anyway, so I won this week.
You did not.
And that makes like 3 out of the last 5 weeks or 4 weeks or something. I'm on a roll, baby. I'm like a pat of butter.
For chewy bacon, which for the record, I actually prefer chewy bacon. Nobody else prefers chewy bacon, and somehow you won. That doesn't even make sense.
Again, all of the feedback was stacked in one direction, and the votes seemed to go in the other direction. I don't understand you people, but I love all of you. You're fantastic.
So much pandering. Well, let me go ahead and give you a compliment. I would like to give you a compliment for making it 1 whole week without a new medical emergency. You got on, and you didn't tell me about kidney stones, or a back that was thrown out, or a heart that exploded. There was nothing. You are like 85% alive this week, and props to you for having a pulse.
85% is probably just north of where I sit usually, so I'm going to take that as a compliment. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And Breakwell, I want to compliment you on giving up your Sundays in favor of your fans. Like, you could walk people through what your Sunday generally looks like, but first of all, Olivas is a part of your Sundays. So right there, everybody's got to know how much pain you go through just to create this content. But you do a lot on Sundays in a selfless kind of way. And that, for your fans, I'm sure they all appreciate it and just soak in the radiance that you put out there every week.
Yeah, so I write these email updates. It's like 2,000 or 3,000 words, which, for the record, that's like, if you were to put that on a regular double-space page, it's like 7 to 9 pages. I just
it
come
really
up
is.
Off the top of my head. Like, finished, funny content. Then I beg people to take it for free. And then, believe it or not, I have to pay hundreds of dollars to MailChimp every month to send out these free articles. And then on top of that, keeping my kids at bay and keeping the wife happy, and usually Sunday's laundry day and sheets and towels day, top of all of that, at night, in crunch time, in the critical hours before I hit send on that free content, I have to talk to you and record these episodes. You are always in the worst possible moment, yet I still show up to talk to you for some reason I don't even understand.
I'm like the oasis of sanity on your Sunday.
Oh, I sit there at like 1 a.m. writing that thing. I'm like, if I didn't talk to Steve, I could have been in bed half an hour ago.
I believe one time I was awake late enough to receive on, like, right when it popped into my inbox and read right away that column that you write. Usually I wait till the morning when I wake up. It's a part of my Monday routine.
Yes, as it should be for everybody. You wake up, you go to the bathroom, you drink your coffee, you read my column. And you can even read the column while you do those other things. I won't judge. Squeeze it in.
All right. Well, this started to move in a direction that I didn't expect it to. Reading in the latrine. Ooh, we'll call it latrining. Anyway, James, I'm going to flip the Guam Quarter of Fate before you get any deeper into this pile. Man, I could run this metaphor all the way into the ground here. But what will the two sides represent for you today? I almost thought of another one. But anyway, what will the two sides represent for you today?
Heads, I'm ties. Tails, I'm bow ties.
Tails is bow ties. And God help the person with tails. Oh, and it's you!
Well, that's
it
good.
Is you.
That is
you
good.
Have bow tie.
Because the reason this was the stupidest topic ever is because bow ties are so clearly better than regular ties. Because when something really, truly matters, you wear a bow tie. When you're wearing a tuxedo, when you're going to the Oscars, when you're getting married, when it matters, you go there in a bow tie. When it's just a normal, boring workday, you throw on that tie. When you want to show that you mean business, that this is truly special, you do a bow tie. It's classy. It's complex, and look at who wears them. Tim Gunn from Project Runway. Tim Gunn's in everything now. My wife watches Project.
Nobody knows who that is.
He does.
What is that?
Okay, so our listeners are primarily female, but males will know too. Tim Gunn, everybody. Steve doesn't know who Tim Gunn is. I do. He wears a bow tie, and that really should be case closed for any sensible human being. But also, they now recommend that doctors not wear ties because they're pointless. They cover up your buttons, but it's just an extra flap of cloth to get germs on it and spread that infection to other patients.
What?
But if those... This is science. If you read any article during cold and flu season. But if those doctors wore a bow tie, I have not seen a single article warning against bow ties. Because they're up higher, it's a smaller surface area, there's no germs being transmitted on bow ties. It's safe, it's hygienic, it's formal, it's worn by the classiest man on the planet. What argument can you possibly have against bow ties?
I've not heard of Timothy Gunn, but as long as... I'll go with a Creed theme and say I do know Tommy Gunn Morrison, and he was in Rocky V, which was one of the precursors of the Creeds that came out. So it all ties back to what I talk about. And what I'm going to talk about right now is ties, neckties. The ones that look cool because you can get different designs, you get different colors, they go different with different suits. There's different ways to tie ties. Do you even know how to tie a bow tie, Breakwell?
I could learn if I had an occasion important enough.
I like the hesitation so that you were thinking of anything other than no to say to that question. But the tie is relatively simple. You can tie a half Windsor. You can teach a boy how to tie a half Windsor. Like 6-year-olds can probably figure that out. The full Windsor is going to take a little bit, and there's other tie types of knots that you can do. But the other great thing about ties, the necktie variety, is that you can get different, like weird, crazy designs. I have literally, and I'm not even making this up, Breakwell, I have Chicago Cubs ties, I have Pittsburgh Steelers ties, I have University of Oklahoma Sooners ties, I have a fish tie because I had it in the 1980s when those were popular. I have pianos, key ties. There's so many different ways that you can express yourself, and you know, James, your generation is part of letting the freak flag fly, and the boat or the necktie is a part of that generation. There's nothing you can say that says the bow tie has any candle that you're holding to this beacon of neckties.
You really shut the argument down there in your speech. Because as you said, you can teach a boy to tie a tie, but it takes a man to tie a bow tie. That's why we wear it for the rites of passage. That's why you wear it at your wedding. That's why you wear it when you receive your Oscar. That's why when the chips are down and the occasion matters, you wear the big one. And a rite of passage is before you go down the aisle, frantically pulling up a YouTube clip, figuring out how to tie that bow tie. I've been at more than one wedding where that was. At crunch time, we were just cramming to figure it out because that's why it's got to be hard. Anything in this life that matters is hard. You've got to work for it. I mean, regular ties, they got the zip-up ones now. They got the clip-ons. And seriously, you're not going to get a Chicago Cubs bow tie because you know what? Ties are classy. They mean something. It's not a billboard for your interest of the moment. It says, I'm here and I take this seriously because today matters. I matter, and you matter. You being the general public, not you, Steve Olivas, because we all know you don't matter, and that's why you probably don't even own a bow tie. But it's serious business for serious people, and that's why you can't respect them.
Well, let me do to you what you do to me all the time. I'm going to say nobody born after 1942 owns a bow tie. James, how many bow ties do you own?
I currently own 0, but that's because I rented one for my wedding. On the day it mattered, I rented it. I think.
All right.
Don't look at my wedding pictures in case it was a tie. I can't remember. A lot of beers were consumed that day.
More by your wife just to get through the ceremony, but yes. Probably the wife's mother also, Lola's poor mom. But how many neckties do you own, James?
You know what? I probably own 10, and I wear 0 of them.
Ooh, 10 to 0. What does that say about how much class James Breakwell has?
You know how many times I put on one of those ties and not wanted to die? 0. Anytime that tie goes on, it's a bad day. Anytime a bow tie goes on, it's a great day. Yeah. It's a reason it resembles a noose. It just, you lose the will to live. It's like it's an act of white-collar suicide. Nobody wants to wear a tie. If you're wearing a tie, you are having the worst day of your life. But if you're having a bow tie, you know there are going to be drinks. You know there's going to be a party. You know there are going to be pictures, and it is going to be fantastic. We're talking like Great Gatsby level classy here. Like you can't have a bad time in a bow tie. I challenge you to think of somebody who wears a bow tie who's not having fun. You can't do it.
Well, every nutty professor wearing a bow tie is not having fun. They're stuffy. They think they're better than everybody else. They wear the jackets with the patches on the sleeves. They talk in a condescending tone. Actually, come to think of it, they resemble you in many, many ways, Mr. Breakwell. We almost called you Dr. Breakwell, by the way.
You know who wears the bow tie besides Tim Gunn, which again should have shut this whole thing down. You know who? Would you like to venture a guess of who I'm going to say to just utterly devastate you?
A distinguished aging man of color. I have no idea.
Oh, okay. Mr. Rogers wears bow ties.
No, he doesn't. How dare you make stuff up on the show?
You can Google it, Mr. Rogers bow tie. You're going to find countless pictures of him with a bow tie. He is a bow tie man. When he went in front of Congress to single-handedly save PBS, which, by the way, you should have mentioned in the debate you lost, which you didn't, because Mr. Rogers is an American hero. He went out there by himself to save PBS in a bow tie, because a bow tie is what heroes wear. It's what you wear when you go through a rite of passage. It's what you wear when you have fun. And it's what you wear when you save the day. Like, there's no downside here. This is over.
Just not enough beer to get through this show. I know exactly how Lola's mother feels right now. Oh, I should have never married Breakwell in the first place. How many people have said that? Just 2, me and Lola. James, roll those dice, and Let people know how they can vote for me for another consecutive week. This really is kind of embarrassing.
All right,
for you.
well, since Facebook is still voting, I assume they are now rushing to right the wrong committed on the other service. But if you would like to vote for bow ties and fun and Mr. Rogers and Tim Gunn, vote for 27.
What the heck?
If you want to vote for the guy who doesn't even know who Tim Gunn is, vote for 86. And if you
would you have known who Tommy Gunn is?
Yeah, he's a rock star.
Oh, my God. Why do you say hurtful things like that?
If you want to throw your vote away, vote for Steve or vote for 36. Anything ending in a 6 is garbage.
All right, well, 36 is the only number you need to know, which is probably the number of times you're going to try and fail to tie a bow tie before you finally give up and put on a regular necktie or buy a clip-on, which is about the only option for most sane people. But go to the polls. Go to Facebook. Go to Twitter. Go to Breakwell's page. He'll make that thing go until the year 2021. Whatever it takes for him to get that one last vote to put him over the top. Oh, he's proud. I'm just going to go with proud, man. So, that is the debate again for this week. You've survived another one. I barely did, just marginally squeaked this one out at the end, but I know I'm going to win. So until next week, this is Steve Olivas, Dr. Steve, the happy leprechaun with the O in his name, coming into St. Patrick's Day, and we might do the theme one more time. I don't know, but until next week, this is Steve Olivas for James, the exploding unicorn Breakwell, saying thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and remember, 2 wrongs can make a right.